The story begins with a shooting carried out by a group of robbers. Their victim is a wealthy businessman who is on his way home. One of the robbers shoots him dead, then takes the amulet necklace he is wearing. And with that, the fate of the stone begins. This is the stone. 30 years later, the story focuses on a young man named Aki, who is facing a serious problem. His sick father needs urgent surgery, but Aki does not have the money to pay for it. Desperate, he returns home and starts searching through several boxes filled with his father's old belongings. While looking through them, Ake accidentally finds a small object, a rare amulet stone that might be worth something. He immediately searches online to find out what kind of amulet it is, and learns that it is called a somdej, a rare stone amulet considered legendary. Its value is extremely high, and the price keeps rising over time. Because it is so rare, many fake versions are now being sold in markets around the world. Curious whether his amulet is real or fake, Ake goes to an amulet market to ask an expert directly. Amulets are considered very valuable in Thailand because many people believe they carry spiritual power for protection, luck, and success. This belief is closely tied to the country's culture and history. In Thailand, each type of amulet has a different value depending on its age and background. The one Ake is carrying falls into the category of rare amulets with a very high price. So to confirm whether it is real, AK needs to find the right expert. AK then meets Seng, an amulet expert who also owns a shop in the market. Just like what AK found online, Seng identifies the amulet as a somdej, a rare stone amulet known as legendary. But after examining it closely, Seng claims that it is an old fake amulet. According to him, it still has some value, but not a very high one. Without wasting time, Seng offers 1 million baht for the entire box of amulets AK brought, including the somdej. But AK feels suspicious, thinking Seng might be lying to him, so he asks permission to check with other shops first. But just as Ake is about to leave, one of Seng's friends appears and also claims to be an amulet expert. Like Seng, the man examines the amulet and says it is indeed old, but still fake, just an imitation. Not long after, a woman named Moy appears. She is an amulet influencer who often goes live on social media to sell items, and she already knows Seng quite well. Unlike Seng and his friend, Moy believes the amulet might actually be genuine, something that has been hidden for a long time. Instead of selling it too quickly, she suggests entering the amulet into an upcoming contest event. There is a chance that collectors will offer a much higher price there. Not wanting to lose the item, Seng quickly raises his offer by another 1 million baht, making the total more than enough to cover Ake's father's surgery. But influenced by Moy's suggestion, Ake decides not to sell the amulet. Seng loses his temper, even smashing the glass display in his shop. After leaving Seng's store, Ake and Moy sit down to eat together while talking about the upcoming contest. Moy shares more about her work as an amulet influencer who regularly hosts live sessions. She gets unexpectedly excited when Ake admits that he has watched one of her streams before, even if it was only once. According to Moy, many amulet experts are actually scammers. She points to people like Seng, who only care about making a profit. As someone with a large following and a reputation for being generous, Moy promises to help AK sell the amulet for a fair price. Later that night, AK returns home and looks into old news related to the amulet. He finds a report about a wealthy businessman who was murdered during a robbery about 30 years ago. At the scene, police discovered hundreds of bullet casings, yet only a single bullet actually killed the victim. Because of that, people began to believe the man survived so long thanks to the legendary amulet he wore. The same amulet that is now in Ake's hands. The day of the amulet contest finally arrives. Collectors and experts from all over gather at the event. The amulet business is incredibly profitable, and Ake decides to take his chance by showcasing the amulet in front of everyone there. Among the attendees is Bante Sutin, the chairman of the Amulet Association in Thailand, and owns the most complete and luxurious amulet shop in the world. He is highly respected, and no one dares to challenge him. Back with Ake and Moy, they register the amulet with the judges. Before it is displayed and possibly sold, Moy asks for a moment to take a photo with it, and Ake agrees without hesitation. Not long after the registration, the judges announce that the legendary amulet is authentic. The crowd quickly gathers to see it up close. Moy becomes overwhelmed with excitement and hugs Ake enthusiastically. The atmosphere suddenly shifts when Sutin steps in to examine the amulet himself. He hands Ake a business card, suggesting he might be interested in buying it. At that moment, Moy calls him her father, revealing that she is actually his daughter, and that their relationship is far from harmonious. After the exhibition ends, Ek goes straight to visit his father at the hospital. He shares the good news and promises that the surgery will happen soon. Later back at
ได้
home,
เลยเนี่ย
Ake watches Moy during one of her live streams. During that moment, he receives a message from a mysterious man named Victor, asking where the amulet is.
เตอร์
Before he can react, Ake is suddenly attacked by someone targeting the legendary amulet. The attacker turns out to be Victor.
ว่ามันก็เป็น
Ake is beaten badly and nearly loses his life until Seng and his men arrive just in time. Their arrival is not without reason. Seng is there to make another offer, this time with an enormous amount of money. But since the amulet is still kept on his father's necklace, Ake takes Seng and his group to the hospital. Despite his injuries, Ake immediately retrieves the amulet from his father and agrees to sell it. However, when he hands it over, Seng suddenly claims that the amulet is fake. He accuses Ake of trying to deceive him and loses control, lashing out in anger. At that moment, Ake remembers something important. He recalls the moment when Mui borrowed the amulet briefly to take a photo. It raises a suspicion that she might have swapped it with a fake. Still, Ake holds back from jumping to conclusions. He decides he needs to confirm the truth first. When Ake returns to his father's room, he is hit with a devastating reality. His father has passed away. The surgery came too late. During the final farewell before the burial, Ake is approached by a man who turns out to be the city's police chief. He introduces himself as his father's former superior back when he was still serving in the force. He offers his support, saying that Ake can come to him if he ever needs help. Refusing to stay trapped in grief, Ake goes to meet Mui, who has just stepped out of her car. But before he can even speak to her, he is stopped and attacked by her personal bodyguard. Mui shows no concern at all and acts as if she does not even recognize him. Confused by her sudden change, Ake goes back home and watches her live stream. That is when the truth becomes clear. Mui had stolen the amulet during the exhibition, right at the moment she hugged him. She secretly hid the real amulet in her mouth and replaced it with a fake. Now she is the one holding the real piece and is already selling it online to her followers. With no time to waste, Ake tracks down Victor, the same man who attacked him the night before. Having no one else to turn to, Ake asks for his help to take the amulet back from Mui. At first, Victor refuses, planning to handle everything on his own. But when he sees Ake breaking down in public, crying and clinging to him like a helpless child, Victor begins to feel sympathy. In the end, he agrees to work together to reclaim the legendary amulet. They set up an ambush on a quiet street, waiting for Mui as she heads back to her apartment. Under pressure, Mui insists that she no longer has the amulet. Since she refuses to tell the truth, Victor and Ake decide to kidnap her and take her to an abandoned warehouse. After being locked inside a freezer for 2 hours, Mui finally gives in and reveals what really happened. On her way home with her bodyguard, their car was intercepted by a group of robbers. The bodyguard was beaten and the amulet was taken. Now that she is cooperating, Victor and Ake ask her who might be behind the robbery. Based on her experience, she points to a well-known amulet collector who also runs the most famous Muay Thai training camp in Thailand. This collector is known for being ruthless and willing to do anything to obtain the legendary amulet. Without wasting any time, Victor, Ake, and Mui head out to confront him, disguising themselves as content creators who want to feature his private collection. After a long conversation, the collector reveals that he is actually waiting for someone who plans to sell him a legendary amulet, and that person has just arrived. But suddenly, they are shocked to see through the CCTV monitor that the man has been kidnapped. Spotting a white van taking him away, Ake and the others immediately give chase. It does not take long to realize that the kidnappers are Seng and his crew, who are also after the same amulet. When they finally catch up, the man turns out to be nothing more than an old seller of cheap amulets. However, something about him feels familiar. Mui grows suspicious and checks his right hand, where she finds a bite mark from when she fought back during the robbery. At that moment, she realizes this old man is one of the robbers. In the end, the old man confesses that he was indeed part of the group that stole the amulet from Mui the night before. What shocks everyone even more is his next revelation. He has been working for Sutton, and the robbery was carried out under his orders. Hearing Sutton's name instantly changes the atmosphere. Everyone falls silent. In the world of amulet traders, he is known as the most powerful figure, someone with vast connections and influence strong enough to crush anyone who stands against him. Once his name is involved, it feels like there is nothing anyone can do. But Ake refuses to let his father's amulet disappear like that. He convinces the others to work together and take it back. Instead of using force, Ake comes up with a smarter approach. He plans to pretend that he still has the real amulet so they can gain access. With Victor posing as his brother, Ake manages to enter Sutton's private amulet shop, a place that very few people are allowed to step into. Sutton has no choice but to welcome him, knowing that refusing could expose his own wrongdoing. As expected, the amulet Ake brings is immediately examined. Within moments, Sutton declares it fake. Ake keeps up his act, pretending to argue and refuse to accept it. Eventually, Sutton reveals a box filled with many similar amulets, claiming they are all fakes circulating in the market. As the tension builds, Sutton begins to realize that Ake already knows about his involvement in the robbery. With no way out, he finally admits that he does have the real amulet, hidden among the many in the box. Then he throws down a challenge, daring Ake to find the genuine one among them. Since Ake has no ability to verify the amulet himself, he asks for permission to bring in people who can. Moy Singh and their group are eventually allowed inside, and they arrive carrying a suitcase with the unfortunate old man inside. Sutton, already furious, lashes out at the old man before finally admitting in front of everyone that he cheated to obtain the amulet through dirty means. Disappointed and fed up with Sutton's abuse of power, Singh suddenly pulls out a gun, turning the situation tense in an instant. Right then, the police chief arrives with his officers, stepping in at the perfect moment. Once the situation is under control, the police chief explains that he is there to confiscate the legendary amulet as evidence in the murder case of the wealthy businessman from 30 years ago. At this point, he reveals a crucial piece of information about the robbery. One of the perpetrators, he claims, was a former subordinate of his, a police officer who turns out to be Ake's own father. According to him, Ake's father was the one who killed the businessman and took the amulet. He points to the fact that the amulet ended up in his possession as proof, suggesting that there is no other explanation. But instead of accepting this, Ake begins to grow suspicious. He remembers something the police chief said during the funeral, that his father was an obedient officer who always followed orders from his superior. That realization changes everything. It means the real mastermind behind the robbery was not his father, but the police chief himself. And then, without warning, Victor opens fire. One by one, everyone in the room is taken down. All the amulets they believed would protect them turn out to be nothing but false hope. Sutton, Singh, the police chief, and the others all fall, while Ake remains the only one still alive. The only person who never relied on an amulet at all. Not long after, Victor regains consciousness after briefly passing out from a gunshot wound to his stomach. At that moment, another hidden truth comes to light. Victor is actually the son of the wealthy businessman who survived the robbery all those years ago. As a child, Victor hid the amulet inside his mouth. Ake's father found him and took him to an orphanage. But before doing that, he had already realized how valuable the legendary amulet was and chose to keep it for himself. From the moment Ake revealed the amulet at the exhibition, Victor, who had long been driven by revenge, began tracking him down. After learning that Ake's father had already died from illness, Victor shifted his focus to the remaining people involved. Once he discovered that the police chief was the true mastermind behind the robbery, he was determined to take him down with his own hands. Now Ake is the only one left alive. Victor briefly considers killing him as well, but unexpectedly, Moy is still alive. She manages to shoot and kill Victor, though not before firing several shots at Ake. In the end, Moy collapses from her injuries and dies from blood loss. Not long after, the police arrive and secure the scene. One of the officers becomes curious, wondering what kind of amulet Ake could have used to be the only survivor. Ake remains silent, never opening his mouth. Because the truth is, he has been hiding the real amulet inside his mouth all along. At that moment, the collector suddenly calls him. He says he has just heard about Ake surviving the violent shootout. Instead of being surprised, the collector becomes even more convinced that Ake is still alive because of the legendary amulet. Without hesitation, he offers to buy it for an incredibly high price. So the moral of the story is, if everyone keeps hiding expensive things in their mouth, maybe dentists are the real winners here.